Sunday, February 22. Let's draw 3 cards for the energies in play today. I'm using the Rider-Waite deck today, and the first card is the 9 of Wands. So that's crazy because we ended on the 9 of Rods in the Morgan Greer deck yesterday, which is essentially the same card. The difference between the two, though, is in the Morgan Greer deck, the figure depicted is a soldier, but in this deck, he is more like a peasant or a villager, and he's got this bandage on his head, which indicates to me that he has been wounded, and so now he's considering how he is going to, I don't want to use the word revenge, but justice needs to be found here, and I think that's what he's going to do with these rods. Remember, rods or wands are stored fire, potential for movement, and in fact, this is an invitation to move toward the 10, the completion of this phase. The fact that this guy is more of a villager than a soldier suggests to me it's going to take everybody. It's almost torch and pitchfork time. It's going to take the grassroots as well as the institutional groups to move forward and find this justice. The wands also form a sort of a wall behind him. It's a permeable wall, but it's still kind of a barrier nonetheless, so that suggests to me that there is protection in this truth. Yesterday I saw the swords of truth transmuted into wands, and so that's why I'm saying this today, that the truths that we now hold become both the instruments of extracting justice and a protection from, let's call it, further obfuscation. Very interesting, very powerful that the same card would repeat from one day to the next. So let's see what second card has to say. Card number 2. We have the 3 of Pentacles, and it is reversed. Because of the reversal here, I am again feeling a sense of delay. There is a sense that the pieces are still coming into alignment for something to move forward, for something to unfold and reveal itself in reality. Upright, this card depicts 2 figures requesting something from the worker who's chiseling into the wall. They're saying, here is what we're asking for, and he's considering their request. Now, upright, it suggests to me that that request has some obstacles to it. So something is in the way. 3, on the other hand, is Trinity, so this is divinely supported, especially since those 3 pentacles are at the bottom of the card and they're holding up everything else in it. So we have a crossover here between divinity and materiality. There's divine timing implied here. The idea of divine timing can be really frustrating to those of us who live in the material world because we want things to happen according to our own timeline. We're impatient. We want it to be like right now, and what can I do to make that happen? And I sense that that's what's being discussed here. But the truth of the matter is that unfolding is going to happen when it's going to happen, because there are so many forces in play that the moment has to be ripe before the pentacles will start to come together, before the gears, because there's like this gear sort of an image in the bottom of the card like this. Before the gears can turn, all the pieces have to be in place, and that's a matter of divine timing. There's tension present in this card. The collaboration isn't quite functional yet. That could be due to a lack of coordination or not everybody being on board yet with where we're going. When we reach that tipping point where everybody's like, oh yeah, we're all on the same bus, then we can get going. Too many metaphors there, but let's see what the third card has to say. Okay, third card is the Page of Cups, and he is reversed. We're still maturing, is what this card is telling me. We're still learning how to, not all of us, but some of us still need to learn how to manage emotional response so that we can get it right. Emotions can sometimes drive our behavior impulsively, reactively, so we haven't thought it through. And so this page is telling us we need to master that emotional energy and understand that it is a communicator to us about the truth of situations rather than taking it as a directive. So emotions shouldn't necessarily prompt us to do a thing just because we're feeling something. We need to understand exactly what the dynamics are inside. So the reversal in this card is pointing to interiority. This page is questioning the fish in the cup. It's like, what are you trying to tell me really? It's easy to react to something when we're angry or we're sad or we're in love with something, but the reaction is not necessarily the correct behavior. We need to practice internal inquiry into what we're experiencing so that we can really understand it before taking action. So layered on top of the first 2 cards, because of the truths that we're now contending with, the emotional response is high, the emotional response is powerful. I mentioned torches and pitchforks. That can be a knee-jerk reaction to intense breakthroughs in our understanding of reality. It's not necessarily the most productive one. So this page, he's still learning how to manage his cups, how to manage his emotions, how to wield them without spilling all over the ground. And that is where we collectively find ourselves, and perhaps personally in your own life, you may be working with that as well. That's a big part of the whole awakening process, which is understanding what emotions are for. They communicate something to us that may not necessarily be apparent to the rational mind yet, but they point us to that. And so we shouldn't necessarily react to emotional energy directly, but we need to understand how it is informing us, where the truth is. Because if something is not true, we know that. Some part of us knows that. Our nervous system can feel it, and it communicates that back to the brain in the form of emotion. Neuroscience actually backs this up. Emotions are like rapid appraisals of a situation that are generated by our subconscious systems before the rational mind finishes its interpretation. So they're pattern detectors. They say, this resembles something important. They don't say, therefore, burn the village. The cortex is supposed to interrupt and interpret. So to sum it up, today's read, the Nine of Wands is telling us we've taken some hits, the boundaries are up, but strength is present, and so is vigilance. We're pausing to consider the best way forward. There's no aggression here, really, but there's an emotional impulse happening, I think, behind the scenes. The Three of Pentacles is suggesting that there's still some misalignment in execution. Collaboration, structure, and divine timing are still a little bit off. So that's reinforcing this pause here. But our coordination needs some refinement. And then finally, the Page of Cups reversed is suggesting that there's some emotional immaturity that needs to be addressed. So today is about regulation and refinement before taking action, doing some inner inquiry, and refining the emotional signal so that we can move appropriately. That's it for today. Like, follow, and share. See you tomorrow.